Gather round, friends, new and old, and welcome to the POWWOW podcast. We are your hosts, Philip
and David.
And yeah, we'd like to welcome any new listeners who are new to the show, I should say. Thank you so much for joining us. And to everybody else who is continuing their journey with us into these mystic woods, thank you so much for continuing to let us be your camp counselors. Now, David, one of the beauties of having a podcast and doing a podcast and choosing this version to do a show is that when I wake up right before we record, because since we're on different time zones, we are an entire sleep cycle away from each other. So whenever I immediately wake up to do this show, I can jump in the shower, get my hair done, and then not have to brush my teeth because I don't have to be aware of you and your presence to just be nice enough to brush my teeth because they smell my breath. It all smells right now. It's all a little funky, but from appearance, you would have no idea that I have fishy tasting breath, which is not actually the case. In case anybody, is truly interested in my breath, it doesn't actually smell like fish, but it does have that morning breath to it.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad. Very glad of that fact. And while you're just woken up, and I'm just had dinner, and once we're done here, I'm probably gonna go to bed because this week I finally had a 5-day working week for the first time in so long, and you know what? It was actually really great. I was so happy to be busy for the first time in a long time, and the funny thing is that I never really I don't usually know which days I'm working until the morning of, and that means I get a call at like 6:30 a.m. So I'm all of a sudden going to bed early, whereas before I was kind of a night owl. So, yeah, very different lifestyle I'm starting to adopt at the moment. This is That Slaps. Thank you, Jake, for that slappin' bass line. Every week we're going to bring you guys some form of entertainment, usually a song, maybe a movie, or maybe even a whole TV show, whatever we've been vibing with that week. This week I'm bringing you guys a song. It is called, for those of you who like house music, which may not be many of you, but I've been jamming to this house song. It's called Lose Control. Control spelled C-T... Is it CTRL, like on your keyboard. And yeah,
is it that one song that goes, "Music makes you lose control. Music makes you lose control"?
No.
Oh,
it's not.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a house song. It's by Is it by PBH and I'm now forgetting. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, PBH and Jack featuring Sash Sings. It slaps.
Okay, it slaps. Yes. Since this episode's curated and about and all around me, I decided to go to a That Slaps, and I wanted to pick a favorite. It's incredibly hard to pick a favorite song, and usually each week is some version of a favorite song. So I decided to go differently and at least put forth an interesting fact about me. Not a fun factoid, but a little fact about myself. So I'm going to go with the movie of the week, which is my favorite movie of all time. I don't even know if you know this, Hoffman. And I'm ready and prepared to take all the criticism, all the slaps in the world. My favorite movie, not the best movie ever. There's so much before this, but my favorite movie is The Titanic.
Aw. I was waiting. I was really eagerly waiting to hear what you were going to say. Titanic is not what I expected. But you know what? We were both really young when that came out. In fact, I think it might have even come out before I was born. It was like I was an infant at least. When did it come out? No, it was like 98. Never mind. I was a couple years old, or a few years old at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't age me like that, man. Jesus.
No. I was mistaken. I was thinking of Forrest Gump, I think, which is like okay, never mind. I think it's a really great movie. Well, at least I really love it. It holds a special place in my heart as well.
Here's why I love it so much. And one, why it makes a favorite, but not necessarily best of all time.
Right.
Strong acting performances throughout.
Mm-hmm.
There are different character arcs that anybody can get into. Whether or not you care about Jack and Rose is almost secondary at points in the film. There are a bunch of invested secondary characters that you certainly enjoy. And no matter what point you get into, I'd say even beyond the opening scenes, really, you can join that film at any point in time and watch it from that
Yeah.
point to the end and still enjoy it. That's why, and the special effects hold up. All of it makes for a tremendous film.
It's actually been years since I've seen it. I've been meaning to rewatch it. So there you go. You have a house song, PBH and Jack, and the Titanic, the two most different things in the world. Last week, there were two hugely important interviews. Probably the more important one being of Harry and Meghan, conducted by Oprah, and the second most important was an interview of me, conducted by Philip, sitting across from me over there. And this week, we may not be able to match it because he really did do a wonderful job of interviewing me. It was personal, but with grace and zest
and class. Don't forget class.
Yes. Absolutely. So I will try to live up to that standard. And are you ready, Phil? Are you nervous?
You know what? I wasn't nervous until until this segment begins. You're right. From last week, you're right. It is a bit unnerving the moment you get into it. But otherwise, I'm feeling a little feisty. I'm feeling a little zesty.
You weren't nervous until I compared you to Harry and Meghan, and more importantly, to me.
Absolutely, yeah. Harry and Meghan, they're just like us normal folk, really. They're just regular American citizens. But you are monarchy, my friend. You are of royal descent, and I cannot stand up or compare.
I don't know if you're just making a joke, but I am actually. I have royal blood somewhere way down the line. Like 1,000 years ago, I am descended of a Scottish hero who the Queen is also a descendant of. Okay, let's get started. So,
how fun!
Last week, you gave me a question. You said this is the one that we should both get. For you, I believe it was a 4. For me, it's a 3 because you've had a week to think about it. So this is the only question that we had in common, guys. Is there a food that makes you puke?
Oh, there's tons, honestly, because thinking about it, I have a very weak stomach. So unfortunately, I'm going to be completely different than you. I'm sure my punishment will be around food, and I absolutely dread it. But the number one surrounding thing is mustard. I don't think I could eat. I don't know what I would do, but I would puke with mustard. I've had tremendous amounts of stories being younger about mustard. I remember going to daycare and somebody making those egg mustard sandwiches or whatever, and I puked in it.
Is it all types of mustard, or is it just like whole grain mustard?
Oh yeah,
English mustard.
All types of mustard.
All types of mustard.
I do not care for it. It smells disgusting. It and everything about it is repugnant. I do not care for it whatsoever. I don't eat it. I don't like to even look at it. I'm like a cat with like glass decor where I just knock it off the picnic table if I see it. It is absolutely disgusting.
Okay,
Ugh.
wow.
There are plenty of others too, but that takes the cake.
Okay, all right. Our second question is a number 4, so it's a little bit more difficult. We're starting out a little high. Do you have any skill?
Oh, and we should note, by the way, that we did take this to social media.
Yes, we did.
Both in the forms of I asked people on my personal page as well as on POWWOW that there were questions that they could ask me. So we have some of those integrated into this, as well as last week when I interviewed Hoffman, we asked you, the audience, for a set number that you could input. Of course, we had a lot of input, but it came out to be a multitude of 4 difficulty level questions, which are pretty hard but not piercing to the soul. We had a couple 3s, which are 50-50. We had some 2s and even 1, if I remember correctly, but no 5s. No 5s. So there are no level 5 difficult category questions in this bunch. We are adhering to the same difficulty for both of us, but this is just now my turn.
Yeah, so this next question is going to be a four question, which will be slightly more personal, more difficult. Okay, here we
Yeah.
go. Do you have any skills or talents that you think are especially unique to you?
Well, especially unique to me. I think I have. I think I have an innate. Well, okay. So a couple physical ones. The one that I have is I can make my hand clap by itself, one-handed clap right there.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
pretty lame
gross.
on the yeah, yeah. I can do that. Skills or talents though. I feel like I can sing fairly well. I don't necessarily have any desire to show that right now, but I it usually comes through, especially on hums or something. Maybe one day we'll do a karaoke podcast or something. Hey, maybe we'll do that. Uh there's that, but unique to me, outside of things like logic-based decisions, where I think I have an ability to really take emotions out of it that a lot of people otherwise wouldn't, per se, and look at things from
You're like a
both sides.
goddamn robot.
Yeah, from time to time, sometimes. Yeah, maybe that's it. But other than
Yeah.
that, those two things I think would suffice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Before this next question of mine is one of my favorites. But before we go on to that, let's do a social question. We're gonna pick
Okay.
at least two. We did two last week. We're gonna do at least two, and we'll see. We'll see how many more we can get to if we have time. What do you miss most about LA?
You know what I miss most about LA is when I was working there, I worked at a radio station, and I actually had two jobs. I worked as a comedy manager and I worked at a radio station. And one night job led to the other. So I would get off from the comedy station and head directly to the graveyard shift at the radio station. Why I'm mentioning all this is because I would take my bike from one job to the next. And so in the mornings after my graveyard shift in the radio station, I would bike home from the radio station all the way back to my home. So it was like the comedy club was right next to my home, and then the radio station was about a 30-minute bike ride away.
Oh wow.
It was fairly significant. But that bike home was so early in the morning, and usually in like Saturday mornings, and even during the weekday, it was still so early that the streets were absolutely clear. And so while I do not recommend this to anybody whatsoever, it was absolutely freeing and, dare I say, nearly cinematic, where I would just go in the middle of the road and just weave and just go home in these misty dewed environments, and just having beautiful views, beautiful weather conditions, biking home, being full in it, listening to music, listening to a podcast. I miss that more so than anything else. Of course, I miss actually all my friends being congregated into one area. That actually is something I miss as well. But I don't think that that's unique to LA per se. I think that we could all technically be somewhere. But specifically to LA, that could probably be recreated would be that daily visual of having to bike home that early in the morning.
Wonderful. This okay. This is another four question.
Your favorite one, yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. You're gonna know why. Do you have a quote unquote one that got away, and is there still a chance?
Do I have one that got away? You know what? Well, I guess we might as well be open on this show. So, weirdly enough, I've always kind of thought of I don't know what it is growing up about me, but I think perhaps because I grew up a little bit heavier and nobody was really interested in me, especially like during high school. I think I wanted to be the best boyfriend I could possibly be. And so with that, I kind of always had this mantra of, should I ever get into a relationship and we break apart for whatever reason, I wanted to be the one that got away. For like every person who was so gifted to have dated me, I wanted to be the one that got away. Like it's a weird way to think of it, but I also felt like that always kept me at my best. Like to
Sounds
really
kind of
try and never take.
self-destructive.
Maybe, but I always tried to. I felt like it kept me to be always putting my best foot forward. You know, never really relying or taking things for granted per se.
Hmm.
So, but was there one that got away? Not really. I don't think so. Not really. But is there a chance that I'll be there? No. There's one that because of long distance kind of got away, but it's kind of a weird. It's always a weird one because I'm not really into long distance dating. That's kind of my thing that I stand away from. I don't necessarily believe in it, but that's my own thing. So is there a chance? Sure, if distance were to become not as relevant a thing, but as it is.
All right, next one is also a 4. We have a lot of 4s.
Yes, we do. I
Have
think we
you
had
ever?
like 7 when I interviewed.
Yeah, 7. Have you ever gone through a non-chemical substance addiction? For example, video games or fast food or sex or pornography or whatever it may be. Have you ever experienced an actual real addiction that you acknowledged you had a problem with, but that wasn't obviously to any chemical substances?
Let me see, because I think I do have an addictive personality. But one nice thing, again, whenever I go to reason, is that I don't. I try not to lead it to be a problem, because anytime I do have an addiction, that's not okay. So I go through cycles where, like, I swear to you, in high school, I had 3 different cycles where one time I had a meatball sub in some capacity each and every day for an entire 3 months in high school. Don't ask me why that happened. I was so in love with meatball subs, and that happens all the time. In my personal life, I go through about 3 different career cycles in my own mind, whether it be podcast, radio. And those 2 are kind of combined, whichever one takes the forefront. It transitions into acting / filming, I guess, is a different one. That usually takes a second one. And then poker. I usually do poker, and that's like a third one. There was a time post-college where my day job was I went to the casino, and I did, I mean, if I may so humbly brag, I did fairly well. I just, after a while, it gets a bit boring. As surprising as it is, and I realized that I kind of enjoy the social aspect of it. But hey, winning money each and every day is pretty nice. But was there? Please, I'm sorry. Oh, was there an addiction that I need help for? Is the problem?
Not necessarily that you needed outside help, but you at least that there was a problem and you felt like you needed to fix it.
You know what actually does that for me from time to time is video games. I can get sucked into them so much. I do love video games, but there is times, especially when I was younger, where it reached a point where an entire day would go by and I was just doing video games, and that one day would kind of cure me for a month, where I'd realize, you know what, let's play this out in my mind going forward. If I play video games all day, will I be satisfied at the end of that month having just beat a video game versus putting that time into something more productive? So it's always been a counterbalance with video games. Video games always feel an addiction, quote unquote, to continue and complete, but I try to balance that with my productive side and feeling fulfilled within myself.
What is your absolute go-to restaurant chain?
Restaurant chain.
Fast
you know what,
food
I think
place, whatever, anything.
Oh, you know what it is In-N-Out right now. Thank God I don't live next to an In-N-Out, and that it's not around the corner. I was going to tweet this out the other day, but thank God, because right now at the corner of where I live is like a Cinnabon, ironically, and it does nothing for me. It's like a Schlotsky Cinnabon. It really doesn't do anything for me, but around the corner there was a QT, and that I use pretty much each and every day. But if it were an In-N-Out, oh my God, I would be so fat. The one nice thing about In-N-Out is that it's something of a drive for me. It's something of a drive and out of my way. But if it were so readily available next to me, I would be so freaking fat, man. I'd be fat.
I do miss In-N-Out.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
so
your.
good. If not that, it would be IHOP. I love IHOP.
Mm-hmm.
That's my second favorite. I always love diner food.
Yeah, that was your number 2 question. So that's as easy as it's gonna get.
Okay, there we go.
Or it should be, at least. All right, number 4, really taking it up a notch. Or number 6, question number 6. It's a 4 question, and it's pretty simple in a sense. What is God to you? And just as an example, as someone, I myself am not at all religious. But if I were to find something in my life that I would say most closely resembles something that is greater than this world, I would say maybe the love that I share with the people whom I love. Something like that.
Oh, I see.
So for me, that's what God is. That's the closest thing I would ever find to a God, even though, again, like I'm not religious at all or believe in God, but that's it for me.
Okay, so let me clarify here then. So are you saying what could possibly offer a nirvana for me? What event could it possibly give me a nirvana here on Earth that feels outer worldly? Is that, or like
Sure. Or the answer could be Jesus Christ or Muhammad or Buddha, or even though Buddha is not a deity per se, but whatever it is for you. What is God to you?
What is God to me? So if I were to take the question literally, it won't be God or Jesus. But the reason why I find this to be an interesting question is that I, too, am not really a religious person at all. I grew up as such. I grew up in a household where each and every Sunday I was made to go to church, which both had its benefits and not. I think it set a fairly good, depending on your interpretation, and that's one problem I have with religion, is it's so darn interpretive at times, or it feels interpretive, but it set up a good foundation of something of a moral compass sometimes for a fair amount of things. But I've turned away from that as of late. So what would be a good feeling of nirvana? You know what I love more than anything else? I love being in the presence of a bunch of people and being the cause of laughter, not being at the source of the laughter where everybody's making fun of me or something at my expense, but being the reason why everybody's laughing. There is nothing, bringing that amount of joy to people is truly nirvanistic, if I may go that far.
I love
a drug.
that answer.
Yeah, slap me up with that. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. All right, this is a 3 question. When you were little, what did you dream of being when you grew up?
Oh, this is funny. I actually, part of our game later on, this is a part of it. But I'll go with what did I dream of? Not first. That's a clear delineation I'm going to put so that way it doesn't interrupt a game piece later on. But one thing that I wanted to grow up and be, like, probably the last thing before being an actor, which I think everybody would know, and then before being on a broadcaster of some sort. The one before that was I wanted to be an orthodontist, weirdly enough. I wanted to be an orthodontist. The phase before that was dentist, which transitioned into orthodontist. Yeah, you know what it was? Is that I had tremendously good experiences going to the dentist growing up. Like, I was the weird kid where,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I would fall asleep in the dentist chair and be widely awoke and terrified while getting a haircut. Like, I was completely on different styles. Like, I hated getting my hair cut. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I would fall asleep while they were going. Yeah, going into my mouth and picking apart and nicking here and there. I would be falling asleep. Had such comfortability in the dentist chair, and so because of that, and then, like, I have a vivid memory of my dentist pulling out and saying, like, "Well, these are smoker's teeth, and these are canine teeth,
pulled
and
out?
these are." Yeah, well, not my teeth. I don't smoke, especially at age 8. That's not what I'm saying. It was like his collection, quote unquote. And this is what happens this is a plaque tooth, and this is what happens if you brush only for like 3 seconds versus 7 seconds, or whatever it was. It was so cool, man, growing up. And then I realized that a dentist didn't make nearly as much money as an orthodontist, but I'd still get that high. So that's why I chose orthodontist. But yeah, orthodontist.
Okay, wow. All right. If you were stranded on an island, who would you want there with you?
Like somebody I know, somebody I could actually.
Not necessarily. It could be anybody. Could be a celebrity or someone you know, or Gandhi.
So yeah, because I'd assume that any person with a global wireless satellite cell phone would be out of the question. It could be anybody in that.
You get the person with any maybe sort of everyday items, but not a satellite phone. So that's cheating.
I get it. Well, you know what? You know who? It's actually an avid listener to the podcast. I would pick Coral Denny,
Great.
and the reason why I'd pick her is because if I'm going down and I'm going to starve and die on an island, I would want no one more entertaining to go down with than Coral Denny, because she will make it all about her. She will be very narcissistic and make the entire experience about her dying more so than me. And at the end of the day, I'm fairly certain she would give herself freely for me to survive a few more days and eat her. She'd probably give me tips on what best to eat and everything else.
Yeah, big shout out there. And I hope you guys have fun. I'm pretty sure anyone smart would bring Bear Grylls.
Yeah, no, that's probably my phone a friend or phone an expert pick option. But if I'm going personal, which of course everything about this podcast is going to be personal, I'm choosing Coral.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's do another social question. Okay, this one comes from a friend of ours, and I apologize if you're under the age of 14, just plug your ears. I'm
wow,
so sorry, listeners. This one comes from a friend of ours. How big is your?
I don't even I know who this friend is just by you stating it. How big? Okay. This is a fun question because I'll be honest. I actually don't know. I've never had the forward gumption to go measure myself, and I this is not a cop out.
Never had the audacity to look down, have you?
To look down. Well, of course I've looked down, but I've never, like, have you ever? I mean, well, let me. I don't need you to answer if you do know, but have you ever taken like
we're
a
not
tape
interviewing
measure?
me.
No, but I'm asking about
me.
I'm not asking. Hold on, I'm just asking. Have you ever like tape measured, like or anything?
I mean,
because I've never done that. I've never felt the need. I've never been like, well, I mean, trust me, I'm no like, Rocket Man or anything. I'm not like tremendous out of this world, but I don't think it's. I mean, I just feel like I'm average, and then I'm pleasantly surprised if it's above whatever the if we're looking at the microphone here and it's it's the same thing, whatever.
Oh, God.
But I'm just saying, I'm not like, we're not going to go like out of this world. I've just never felt the need to measure. That's what I'm going to go with at the base of this question.
I'm just going to do another social question just to cleanse the palate a little bit. What is the pettiest thing you've ever done?
What is the pettiest thing I've ever done? There's a lot of answers to this, and it's hard to answer the pettiest just off the cuff. I can think of one thing. So my pettiness, my form of pettiness, and I am a fair amount of petty, is in the shadows. I don't like to be forward about it. I like to be very much stealth and noir about it, cloak and dagger, as it were. So recently, I am friends with a fair amount of people that are, I think you could call them anti-maskers, and that kind of qualifies as a group of everything. Mm-hmm. And sure. A co-friend of me and one of these people got their second shot and was displaying symptoms and everything, and just said that they were having a horrible day, but they still said, I'm still very glad that I got the shot. Everybody else go. And so the anti-masker friend, I just arbitrarily see this post of denouncing, saying, well, I guess seeing that we're going to be taking these vaccines, spelled VACK, and seen SEEN. This is why we need to do our research. This is why yada yada yada. So not actually tagging the person that it was about, but just being subtle about it themselves. And so I saw that, and I said, and it's saying that I have a friend who's displaying symptoms, who was complaining, yet at the end is saying, wow, everybody take their vaccine. This is the definition of brainwashed. And so I sent that to the friend because I was like, you know what? I don't know if you saw this, but hey, I would want to know if it was me. Knowing that it wouldn't get back to me, knowing that it wouldn't trace, it couldn't be traced. Now, I suppose if everybody's listening, they can understand, or at least,
you gave yourself
back
up.
To me. Yeah, I gave myself up, but I did it for you, the people. Anyways, I'm that type of petty. Oh, and my other favorite type of petty is sometimes I just don't like to get political. I really don't. But sometimes people will say things that I just find to be absolutely just dumb across the board. So my favorite form of petty, this is it. I'm so glad I remember this at the end. My favorite form of petty is when people make political posts either way that I disagree with, My most annoying thing that they do is that they'll say these ridiculous things and yet still have freaking spelling errors galore. Spelling and grammatical errors across the board. It's freaking annoying. So I won't say what I feel either way, but I will I will correct them and just have the little asterisk and then just correct their spelling. Just dot 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 down the line. That will be my comment. That will be all I put. And then I had this one beautiful, just chef's kiss of he responded and he's like, because we knew each other from high school, knew of each other, I should say. I'm not a friend whatsoever, but knew of each other in high school. And he called me a grammar Nazi, and he's like, and he misspelled freaking Nazi. I was like, come on, man. And so I just freaking chef's kiss of respelled Nazi and just said, hey, better luck next time in high school.
Those are the best moments.
Oh,
I like throwing around my, and maybe this is also kind of petty. I like throwing around my bachelor's degree. Whenever someone tries to tell me something, like people will say, oh, what's the point of electric cars when the electricity comes from fossil fuel plants anyway? Right, so if you're burning the fossil fuels anyway, what's the point? Why is it helpful to drive electric cars? And it's like, okay, you clearly have such limited facts. If you knew anything about the automotive industry or power generation, you would know that it's 3 times more efficient to burn the fuel at a plant and use the electricity in a car than if you burn the fuel in the car itself. That's just like the simplest fact that I remember learning in a lecture when I did my degree in engineering, and I get to throw that around whenever someone. I've so many times that people have told me that, and I'm like, well, here you go. Here's the actual.
See, Hoffman, most people, hang up their diploma, they frame it. You just roll it up and plop it out, just saying, hello, ladies, here's my diploma. That's what you do. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Okay. All right, let's get back to the questions. Let's get back to the interview. All right, we're back to a number 4 here. Sport is an interesting field. It's very different from the entertainment industry because you really have to dedicate your entire adolescence to becoming an athlete. Whereas an actor, you could decide when you're 30 to become an actor,
Sure.
And as a lover of sports, do you regret not trying to become an athlete?
Oh, absolutely not. I did play some sports in high school. I was a lineman. I was like a backup lineman. I was just, it was, you know what a backup lineman is?
No.
Fat. That's all I was. that's all. So that's all it was. But anyways, no, I did not have the will, the dedication, and the lung capacity because I have asthma to be a sports athlete whatsoever. So a lot of credit goes out to them. Even whenever I criticize them knowing that they are at the top of their class, knowing that they are at the top of their sport and their pristine health. Everything. God bless them. No, I absolutely don't. No. All
right. Have you ever cheated on a school assignment or test?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at you, Spanish 101 and Spanish 102 in both high school and college. Bienvenidos. Because honestly, I would love to know and learn Spanish. And I realize that seems like an oxymoron. Why would you cheat if you wanted to? I get it. But here's the thing, is that I don't learn Spanish that way. I would need to actually learn and infuse it and take it and maybe do some Duolingo and fall asleep to it. But once I'm getting tested on it, I'm not learning for the enjoyment of it. No. And so I really hate that concept of it. And then if you especially in Spanish, you miss the foundation of frickin' week 2 when you're still getting into the full humdrum of college and everything else, and you have 17 other assignments. That is just the most non-conducive environment to learn long-lasting Spanish. So fuck that. And I say I cheated knowing willingly and extemporate, whatever the fuck. I'm going so far out of my way. I realize I'm going to have to beep these out so much, and I don't even care because Spanish, it sucks to learn a foreign language in college when that's the conducive way to do it. It's not conducive towards long educational learning. I maintain that.
All right. Okay, that was your last 3, and now you got a couple 4s. So it's the last 2 questions, both 4s. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with someone dead, who would it be?
With someone who? Where I didn't just catch that last part.
Someone dead.
Oh. Again, I don't know them. I'm assuming.
Whatever you want. I mean, for me, it would be either one of my grandfathers. I want to hear all the war stories. because they both have some crazy war stories that I would, and and other stories as well.
You know who I think? Oh man, there's so many. Okay, I'll preface it with there's so many people that this could possibly be. But you know who I'd actually want to talk about, especially maybe this is just in the moment that I'm wanting to talk about it, but I would want to talk to Martin Luther King, only because of how race relations in this country, how it's affected globally, how it's really been widespread. And I know a lot of people love to project just exactly how he would feel, what he would say, and everything else. And for everything about Martin Luther King, he was cut down, a lot would say, in his prime. Mm-hmm. So I feel like having him brought now, it's not like, Einstein lived a full, good, healthy life. So whenever you go and talk to Einstein, I don't know that he would have much more to say or contribute. Whereas Martin Luther King,
right, and also
part of the tragedy that is Martin Luther King is that he was cut away in his prime. So I would very much like to see his commentary and have a discussion with him about racial relations going forward, racial relations as they are now, and I think it would be a very expanding conversation.
Yeah, I think with the difference being with Einstein, Einstein's legacy is based in theories and facts, and so most of what you can learn from him is already written down or talked about or well known, whereas with Martin Luther King, it would be a much more philosophical conversation. So
discussion.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so last question, last one of my questions. If you were to be world renowned for one thing, what would you want that to be?
See, if I could choose it, then what I'm automatically looking for is a legacy play, because if I'm going to be world renowned, I don't want to be world renowned as like friggin' Hugh Hefner. Like, what kind of weird, what is that? So if I'm going to be world renowned, I want to be world renowned. I want to be world renowned for my wit, not my intelligence. I feel like there's like wisdom. I want to be renowned for my wisdom, not necessarily intelligence. I feel like there's a difference there, and there is a difference there, where I don't necessarily need to be theory of everything, Neil deGrasse Tyson, where I'm just generally smart. I just want to be very wise. I think wisdom is so underappreciated and undervalued at this point in time. And wisdom, I think, is a much more enviable trait than intelligence or a lot of the other secondary traits. Caring and kindness, of course, that also seems to be that would be very enviable to have as well. But I think Mother Teresa kind of took the mantle for most kind. So I think most wise would be very nice. Would be both beneficial and beneficial to myself and others.
Okay, quick bonus social question. What is your middle name? This one comes at you from Coral Denny.
Yeah, I bet it does. Wow, Coral.
Is this
I was taking you on an island
long running?
Okay, so let me explain this.
To tell your middle name or something.
Yes, okay. So I'm sure many people can find it in any way, shape, and form, whether or not it's legal documents. I'm sure the IRS knows. I know that the IRS knows. But here's my thing, is that I don't know why, but I have a very specific thing within me. I don't like other people knowing my middle name unless you fall under 3 categories. 1, you're dating me or you have dated me. 2, you're my family. Or 3, you're God. One of the 3. I just happen to find that to be such a weird personal thing, and that's my thing. Again, I realize it's the initials there. Everybody can probably find the initial at the very least. But for me, so Coral's been ever since she asked me this way back when we reblossomed into our friendship. She's been trying to get me to organically state it some way, somehow, somewhere, and because again she realizes that she can cheat and find this somewhere. Screw you, Coral, for asking this in such a public forum. I'm not going to answer that one. I refuse, but I will give everybody the pleasure of the story that we have. That's what I'm going to give you. Right back to you.
I once convinced a friend that my middle name was Franklin. It is not.
Oh.
All right.
We move on to Fun Factoid of the Week. This is the part of the show where we each bring you the funnest facts that we can find on the forums online. There we go. God, I love alliteration. I will give it to you, Hoffman. You start us out this week. What is your fun factoid of the week?
All right, I'm sticking with the Oscar theme. I am building up. I'm going to be slowly building you up until April 25th, when the Oscar ceremony is finally going to happen. Wings, a movie Wings. It's a silent movie from the 1920s. Was the very first film to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Oh, nice. My fun factoid of the week, if I can find it in all of my notes, my God. Yes, mankind has left 96 bags of feces, urine, and vomit on the moon. Meaning
Fantastic.
Mankind can make a trash dump anywhere we go.
All right, once more into the breach, once more into the campfire. Just like last week, where we talked about our favorite and least favorite things about me, this week we're going to be doing Phil in more ways than one. So I'm going to start us out with, would you want to start with worst or best?
Well, I believe we started out with worst, so give me with your worst, the thing you hate the most about me.
I think you already know what I'm going to say. I really hate that you use disposable kitchenware.
Yeah. You haven't been able to convert me yet.
Easily my least favorite thing about you.
That's fair. And you've made it abundantly clear, and I still ignore you. The thing that I hate the most about myself, there's a couple. I, too, hate that I'm lazy, but you stole that last week, and so I hate you for that. But I hate that I bite my nails and skin around my nails. I'm sure it's just a nervous coping mechanism, but I absolutely hate it about myself. It always... If I don't bring it to myself forefront, somebody else does, and they're just, oh, you bite your nails. And I'm like, yeah, I hate it about myself. But I would say that comes up to be the thing I hate the most about myself. The thing I love the most about myself, a couple things. There's a long list of things that I love about myself.
So many things.
But if I had to pick one, how much more comfortable I've been to refer to logic in situations that come up throughout my life. When I was younger, I used my mom as much more of a crutch to find out what was wrong, or just kind of reference that, or even look to others to kind of really determine how I felt about a situation. And I still do from time to time. If it's an interpretive situation, of course I refer to friends and experts and yada yada yada. But in certain personal situations or something about how I go about my day and how much more efficient to be or whatever it is, the ability to refer and fall back to logic has been a trending upwards trajectory in my life, and I absolutely adore that.
I love that you are there. I love that you are always there. You are one of the most reliable people that I know, and I mean that both in like a practical sense, like you have picked me up at like 4 a.m. and driven me to the airport.
That's true.
I love that I can count on you, but I also mean that in a very abstract, emotional friend kind of way. Like you are unfailingly there as a friend.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I don't think I've ever heard that, like, at least phrased that way at the very least. But thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, we are very much switching up things with the game. From this point forward, we are going to be doing the same game, but we're going to be doing, both me and Phil are going to be preparing a game each week. They will be the same style of game, the same type of game, the same structure, but they will be different in many other ways, I'm sure.
Yeah, so essentially each week we're still going along the lines of whoever's turn it is creates a game, and then they get to assimilate it close to the topic of their choosing, whether or not it's directly related to the main topic of the day, or if they want to stray away from that. But the other person, the person who did not come up with the game, has to make a subject change but use the same game format. Well, it'll make more sense as we go along, and I think describing it only stands to confuse the audience. But essentially, the person creating the game still remains, but now you're getting double the game. We're each going to be flipping the tables on the game each week.
Right, and this week we're doing 5 questions, true or false. And because it's true or false, I decided, Phil, and I hope you decided the same thing to make it fair, I decided that the questions could be, given that it's a 50-50 shot, could be a little bit more difficult. And I decided to go with something completely unrelated. Well, I guess it's not really. The reason I thought of it was because I asked you what you wanted to be when you were growing up, right?
Right.
When you were little. I wanted to be a paleontologist. And it just so happens that this past week and a half, I've been rewatching the Jurassic Park series. So my questions for you, I'll start. So I'll do my game first, are all about prehistoric eras. So first question 1.
So excited.
This is the statement. You tell me if it's true or false. Mosasaurs lived in the late Cretaceous period.
Jeez, that sounds like the edge of a sandwich.
You know what I mean when I say mosasaurs, right? You know what that is?
No, is that like an alligator dinosaur or something?
Yeah, that's the one. It's the one in Jurassic World that eats the shark. Jumps up and it eats the shark.
Okay, let me think. I think the crust. You said the which period?
The late Cretaceous period. The mosasaurs of many types lived in the late Cretaceous period.
I believe, and I'm going to show my ignorance here. I believe that the Cretaceous period is the most modern one, the most recent one. And I feel like that would have happened and had dinosaurs in the ocean, and then they evolved onto land. So I'm going to say that's false. It needs to be an earlier period.
I'm not sure I understand your logic, but you're wrong. It was actually true.
Darn it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think you may be well set up to get this next question right. The Triassic period came after the Jurassic period.
Okay. Oh, you're okay. The Triassic period. That is true.
No, it's false, actually.
Dang it.
The Triassic period came before the Jurassic period. Oh dear. Okay. I'm sorry I made this so difficult.
Not good.
This is the supercontinent Pangaea. The supercontinent Pangaea began to break up during the Cretaceous period.
True. That is true.
No, it's false.
Oh, this is not going good. This is not going well at all. All right, fantastic. I love it. I love it so much.
No, it began to break up 180 million years ago, which was, I believe, during the Jurassic period. So the Jurassic period was longer than the Cretaceous period.
Let's see. If I just did true, then I think the Jurassic period was longer. I'm going to say false.
Yeah, false. There you go. You're on the board.
Thank God. Thank God. I need some right answers here.
I love how confidently you answered some of the ones that you got wrong. All right.
Yeah.
Question 5.
It felt right.
The T-Rex lived at the same time as the Triceratops.
Oh, that has got to be... See, I would normally think that that's true, but the fact that you're bringing it out... Yeah, I'm going to say that's false.
It's true, man.
Gosh dang it all.
They did live at the same time. In fact, the T-Rex loved to eat Triceratops.
You know what? Dang nabbit, and I keep seeing that, and I saw that, but I just thought, since you asked it, since it was so redundant, it'd be like, is water wet? Yeah, well, because you're asking me. Now I'm questioning it. Gosh dang it. All right. There we go. All right, your true or false questions. I failed utterly, and I only got one right. Here are your 5 true or false questions, and they are all about myself. My favorite object as a kid was a stuffed rhinoceros named Tiger. Is that true or false?
A stuffed rhinoceros named Tiger. I think it's true.
You're absolutely true, and you're on the board. You already matched my output for the week. Way to frickin' go. My first pet was an iguana named Reginald. True or false?
Now, I feel like I remember you telling me that you owned... No. No, it was a snake that you had. I'm going to say false.
You're absolutely correct. That is false.
I was going to say, Joey... I remembered you having a reptile, but then last second I remembered it was a snake that you had.
Yeah, his name's Joey the Corn Snake. There we go. All right, next one. The first career I ever wanted, and remember, earlier in this podcast, we went to my secondary. So the first career I ever wanted to embark upon was a veterinarian, since I didn't realize animals bled, and did all the nasty stuff humans did too, and I could still help others.
Now, it sounds really true, but I'm going to say false.
You're absolutely correct. It was false. The first thing I ever wanted to do was to be, and this is slightly different, but it was a dentist for the fish. So like I wanted to be a scuba diver and like clean sharks' teeth.
Kind of a dentist veterinarian hybrid.
Yeah.
All right.
Hybrid, but it was exclusively for fish. Number 4, I taught myself how to ride a bike in my first year of college. True or false?
I would that would be shameful if it was true. I'm going to say false.
It's absolutely true. I didn't have a dad growing up. Next one. When I die, I want to be buried in the style of a Viking, where they put your body on a funeral pyre and set you off to sea, then someone lights an arrow and sets the funerary ship ablaze, while somebody blows a horn and we all drink mead. Is this true or false?
I hope it's true, and I hope I'm still alive when you die in that case, because that sounds like a fun party. True. I think that's true.
It's absolutely false. I want to be buried in Ireland. And just cremate me.
That's
Nobody
lame.
Nobody needs to see me. Just go up to the top of a mountain and just let me go.
You know what's weird? I really want to be fed.
dumb me out.
I want to be fed to something, or like, at the very least, plant me beneath a tree or something. I want to become like, I want my essence to, not my essence, but like, you know, like all the nutrients in me. I want to help the world, something to live. You know, feed me to a shark. That would make me happy. I don't want to just be buried. I don't want to be buried in like a wooden coffin to be no good to anything.
You want your essence to be inside of a tree? All right, that's all I'm going to do. All right, with the scores. We got to get back. With the scores, as they currently are, David has 2 wins to my 0 wins in all of podcast history. And I only have 1 right answer this week, which will not help me should this all come to a tiebreaker later on in the history of POWWOW. Random question of the week is now we go to different questions that we each had either in this week or just that pop up in our mind as we go, but the only qualification is that they cannot have anything to do with the main topic. David, my random question of the week: which specific food, so not Italian food and not a genre or just whatever, would you make a negative calorie food akin to celery, where it retains all the flavors and enjoyment you normally get from it, but eating it now is no longer unhealthy for you?
Pasta.
Pasta. That's good. That's very good.
Yeah. 1000% pasta. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Phil, how do you properly change lanes on a freeway?
I go and I hit my blinker, and then I look again. I do 2 looks. I don't do it by like the 3-second rule or the whatever those markers are, the 3 yellow markers or whatever they are. I just look twice. If nobody's there and I check over my shoulder, my blind spot, I just go.
Good. I approve.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Next week, we go more to a more standard format where we will have a better main topic than myself or David. Yes, I know. I'm
excited. Maybe we can talk about the Oscar nominations, which I think are supposed to be announced tomorrow.
Ooh, yes, maybe we can. Maybe, well, will that be our Oscar show? I feel like we got to put all that into one.
We're gonna have to do one when we do when the ceremony comes around. But maybe we can preview it with an episode next week. We'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll
talk about it off the pod. Either way, we'd like to thank you so much for listening for this episode, and of course last week's episode. If you got this one and then you missed last week, make sure to go back. And David talks about a lot of open stuff about like not putting his essence inside of a tree. And I would like to very much thank Tara Amstutz for her beautiful designs and graphics inside all of our imaging and what have you. Thank you so much, Tara.
And thank you, Cass and Crossland, for our intro and outro music, and to Jake Corlang for that bass line. Thank you, guys.
Make sure to continue to subscribe and listen to all of our podcasts. We even have a couple in the backlog now, so if you want to go back and check all those out, we're on pretty much everything: Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, even Google Podcasts. Pretty much everything except for Pandora. Screw you, Pandora.
I'm Bear Grylls, and look out for bears.